All right, so we have started recording. Welcome today to our last CLO meetup of the, I guess, academic year. This is the fifth one, so we've gone through kind of start to finish. So today we're going to talk about animation and rendering. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to switch over, share my screen. And let's open this. So welcome today.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So of course, as always, the purpose of these meetups are to learn new skills, perfect known skills, and learn from each other, which is always helpful because we all have different things that we've tried and we can learn from each other or problem solve. So I'm going to jump forward. So my name is Chrissy Reevy Stevenson. I'm a fashion design instructor here at Kent State.
And my name is Daniel Fladden, and I'm also a fashion instructor here at Kent State.
And I'm Margarita Benitez. I'm also a fashion instructor here in Kent State, but I'm more the technology person. I'm up in the textile lab, and I'm very happy to have both Daniel and Chrissy here with their expertise in CLO3D to guide you through this.
All right, so we'll hop back. So first of all, of course, what is CLO? By this point, you probably know what CLO is. It's a great program to help us throughout the design development process. We're going to talk about animation and rendering, the purpose of each, because they're not exactly the same thing. Preparing your file to get started. Then we'll look at animation and rendering, and then we'll have some time to play a little bit and work together. And here's a video on CLO. We show it every time. It's a great introduction. Especially maybe this is the first video you're watching or first meetup you're at. You can go and watch this video. It tells you a lot about that. Here's some other interesting links, and then the benefits that CLO brings to, like I said, the design development process. So today, animation and rendering. So there's a purpose for each. They're not exactly the same thing. What we do in CLO, where we make the model walk, that's animating our avatar. So it applies movement to the avatar, and you can record that movement. You can use the CLO animations. There's also ways to import other animations. So I've got a link to a tutorial and a website online where you can actually download those animations and work with that. So if you want to do that, I haven't done it yet, but I've seen the process being done. And then rendering as a secondary process where you have that motion and then you can apply realistic lighting and reflection to the avatar in the garment. So it actually applies more detail. You can put it in an environment and make it look really realistic. You can apply different lighting effects. So first it's just getting the motion and then applying all of those environmental effects to that so it looks really realistic or how you want it to look. So before you get started, there's a few things you want to do. And I forgot to put this on the slide, but the first thing you want to do is delete any unnecessary patterns. I don't know if you're like me. I always have like patterns kind of floating around in the 2D window. Well, they're in the 3D window too, that I use to kind of develop the final patterns. And so those always, you know, when I simulate and sew it together, they just sort of fall off to the side. You want to delete those because, of course, you don't want those in there. Yes?
Can you freeze them, or would you recommend deleting them?
I would just get rid of them because they would show up. So they'll get recorded wherever they fall. So if you want them in there, leave them in there, but just delete them. And then the other thing is that for something like this, it's actually better not to have like the facings and anything you don't see. Obviously, you want it to have the structure, whatever you need for structure of the garment, but you don't actually have to have all those pieces. It just adds unnecessary, you know.
Data to process.
Yes, thank you. All that stuff. So you want it as simple as possible. You want the look, but you don't care as much about, you know, all the underneath parts that we would want if we were going to sew it together. So some other things you want to do. So I put them first is the simulation properties. So if you are in the, and I'll pop over, but if you're in the 2D window, you can select all of your pattern pieces. And if you go to open your property editor, you'll scroll down to simulation properties. And I listed like layers should be 0. The particle distance, which sounds like a Star Wars, Star Trek sort of term, should be between 8 and 10. 10 is going to be a little more rigid. 8 will be a little bit, let it flow a little bit more. So like if you have a cuff, obviously that's going to kind of just stay there, or something underneath. You don't need a lot of movement.
And also the particle distance is how much processing is between the different points in the garment. So the smaller it is, the larger the time it's going to take to render. So that exponentially increases the time for rendering.
It gives you, like, I mean, I guess for things I've worked on, if I make it really small, it's great too, because I can really see how it's going to fit, and it's good. But sometimes, like when you're developing something, you can even make it higher while you're doing all the development, and then you bring it down, and then
when you need it.
Yeah, right when you need it, and not when you don't. That way you can just use it and wait and be patient for it to process that for that purpose. Not every time. And then the collision of the garment should be 2.5. It's under additional thickness collision. We'll go look at that. Also fabric and properties. So you're going to want to actually select the fabric in the, I think look at the fabric properties. And then there's a couple of pieces of information. So if your animation's too bouncy, so we'll show you the one that I did. It's actually a little bit bouncy. I just left it that way for now. I'll probably go in and kind of work on it. There's a couple of things that you can try. The increased avatar static friction, you have to click on the avatar and then see that in the property editor. And then the fabric friction is obviously under the fabric. So I'm going to hop over to, oh yeah, it's tab, right? Alt tab.
Hold the Alt key down and the tab cycles through.
There we go. So here we are. So we're going to look at that. So the first thing, let's look at the pattern. So if I select all of this, you can see down here, I get, if I scroll down, I have my simulation properties here. And I would want to bring this down. I'll just put it at 10 for now. We have 0 layer, and then our additional thickness, the collision, is 2.5. To check the fabric, we're going to click on this actually we need to unselect the pattern and click on the fabric. Then you can go down and check your, you're going to fit its physical property and click on the detail, so you can get your bending, shear, and stretch, and make sure all of these are under 60. And these all just, I have silk charmeuse in here, so it's auto. It did that for me with the fabric that's in CLO. But especially if you were like modifying it and making your own, applying your own properties to it, you'd want to make sure those are under 60. And then for the fabric, what's the other thing? For the, I can't think of the word. The friction is down here. So we've got the friction. You can play with that if it's the fabric's too bouncy. And then the other one is the avatar static friction. So I'll just deselect that. And if you click on the avatar, you actually have the friction over here. So you can play, those are some things to play with. So it doesn't really matter where you click on this. This is also where we went and, messed with the face when we redid the makeup. So this is when you click on that and you go to property editor, it modifies the avatar. Yeah, I got all of those. And I don't have any extra pattern pieces floating around in here. So, but those would be the things you want to check before you start messing with the animation. Right. So I'll let you go with this one.
All right. So I'm going to take over for a little bit here. So now that we've got everything figured out with preparing your file and getting all the properties with the simulation down, now we actually have to get into the animation window. So, make sure that your patterns and object properties are set up for success, as Chrissy just explained. And of course, you want to make sure you have a project open, which we already have it here, but clearly you can't really go into animation if you have nothing to animate. So up on the top right-hand corner, you'll notice this little tiny menu that says simulation. And once you hit and engage the drop-down menu, you'll see you've got simulation, animation, print layout, colorway, emulator, modular, UV editor, review, and bill of materials. So all these functionalities exist within this program. We're just going to be focusing on the animation today because we'd be here all night otherwise.
One quick thing, if you wanted to go along with this and you didn't have a file, you could open an avatar, I believe, and just do an avatar.
Yeah, absolutely. So if
yeah.
you don't have a garment, just go ahead and open up a t-shirt and have that ready to go. It's already preloaded into the program, so you can follow along and see how this process works. And I will be jumping back over once we get through a few slides. So once we drop into the animation mode, your screen's going to change and you're going to lose your 2D window and you'll only have the animation window up. So at this point, you're going to have some controls at the bottom that control the motion, the recording, the actual motion itself and playing through it. So the important part here is that you select the avatar, then you go into motion and choose whatever pose you would like. Currently, my model only has the no hands pose, so that's the one I'm going to be using. And then we're going to hit play to see the animation without clothing. So before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I'm going to jump on back over and show you what that looks like. Yes? Okay.
Yeah.
So once you go ahead and hit animation, sometimes this will show up. It says simulation quality has changed to animation stable for high quality animation. So go ahead and just hit OK. And now you can see that you have this window that is popped up there. Now, to test this animation out, you need to apply motion. So you're going to click on Avatar. You're going to go to Motion. And I'm going to do the no hand, what do you think? No hands pose?
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, that was, I did the dress one we can show it. So that'd be good to have a different one.
So at this point, you'll have open motion and you'll see that it sets the frames per second. Setting it at 30 will give it a nice natural look. It does take a little bit longer for the purposes of this demonstration so that we're not all sitting here watching. I'm going to lower it down to 20, but I highly recommend maintaining it at 30 frames per second. You'll notice that that our motion is a little bit rigid because of that choice. So now that we're here, you know, it doesn't seem like much is going on, but really what's happening is the model is off to the left of the stage. And as you can see down on the bottom here, that little graph or grid represents the floor. So you got a couple options. I personally like to take the grid off so that it just is a nice clean white background. It's totally up to you. So now we're going to test the animation, and all you have to do this is hit this play button right here. So let's go ahead and give that a try. Now something weird's about to happen, so let's see what happens there.
Ooh.
And all of a sudden it's a Victoria's Secret runway.
She walked out of her clothes.
Yeah.
Exactly,
That's
right,
impressive.
right on out. So this is just for the purposes of testing our motion of the avatar and making sure that it is a motion that we like and fits within what we're trying to present. I mean, you could, depending on the garment, you might want to have a little bit more of an attitude to your pose. There's so many that are on here that are pre-existing on CLO. You can also use other services that have preloaded or have an entire library of motion that you can also use. We'll be covering that a little bit later on as well. So let's get her back in her clothes. So to do that, you see the controls down here. It's just like an old CD player or like a like the bottom of your Apple iTunes when you're playing your music. So go ahead and just hit back, and it'll pop her right back into the close. So I'm going to go back to the presentation. And if you ever get lost, just check this presentation out. It gives you step-by-step directions and highlights on the actual screenshots on where you need to do in order to make these things happen. So next thing is, maybe you want to add a stage in. Maybe you just don't want it in a white void. So the next part is we're going to be adding a stage into here, and we're going to be loading that. And then after that, we're going to start the recording process. We're going to take a pause and go back to CLO. And in order to do this and add the stage, you'll see over in the library, the very bottom, there's a little drop menu that says stage there. So you're going to double click on that. And this one actually has quite a few stages. Let's try a new one out. Why not? File not saved. Do you want to save? It's trying to load it without the adding. File not saved. Do
you have to get out of simulation? I thought you could just do it right there.
That's,
I guess you could get out or out of animation.
I mean, that's how it works on Macs.
I know.
But PCs.
You just go back to simulation and then put it in and then open. No, that's
Nope.
weird.
Let's go ahead and drop this in. All right, hold the phone, everyone, just a moment.
Oh, there we go. Add to workspace.
All right.
Right click.
So on a PC, just learning this right now, you have to right click on the stage and then add to the workspace, and this menu will pop up, which you want to add, not open. If you're on a Mac, it will automatically pop this menu up and it will not give you that entire rundown that just happened. So once you select add, you're going to hit OK. And we see that a stage has now been added. I'm actually going to backstep out of here because I want to add a new one I haven't seen yet. So we're going to go ahead and add that in.
I think she's going to disappear. Kind of almost disappear.
Yep. You're just going to see a little tiny handoff to the side there. So now we've got this really fun stage, pretty exciting compared to the other one we had opened up before. And now we're going to be moving on to the actual animation process. Before I continue on, is there any questions? Yes.
What FPS were you using again?
SPF?
Frames per second.
Oh, I use 20.
20.
Yep. 30 is like the goal, but for purposes of trying it out, I'd
Yeah,
lower it.
30 is video rate and film is 24.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and bring it on over. So recording animation. So to animate the avatar and the garment, you're going to have to go ahead and hit the record button. Now, mind you, this can take quite a bit of time, especially depending on the complexity of your garment. So we'll see how long this ends up taking, and hopefully it's not too long, but during that time, we'll come around and help everyone out and see where we're at.
I wonder if we can play the ones that we've already done while we're going.
Oh yeah, we could do that.
Let's try it.
So anyways, before we move on to the next one, I'm just gonna go ahead and show you how that looks. So right down here in the left-hand corner, you'll see the record button. You're gonna go ahead and hit that. And now you'll see that we are at, there's going to be 426 frames that we have to capture. And right now we are currently at 8. And now we're at 10. So it's probably going to take, I imagine it's probably going to take us about 5 minutes to get this all loaded up. So not too long. In the meantime, while that is loading, we can actually show you some animations though.
Yeah, let's see if we can do that. So
So this is the goal that we're actually going to be getting to right here.
there we go. Can you see that? So this one, I'll start it over. So this is without a stage, but the same garment. It's a slightly different walk or motion. It's very, I feel like old school 80s pose for 80s catwalk or early 90s. But it's very bouncy, so I need to work on that a little bit. It is silk charmeuse, but at the same time, it is kind of bouncy. So, and then there's another one. I don't know. Can you see this one? I don't know if you can see it on the. So yeah, so that's what we're waiting for it to load. So yeah, it took a little bit of time to get those. So both of those probably took about, about 5 or 10 minutes for mine.
Exactly.
Yeah, to do that.
For any gamers in today, probably will give you an appreciation for how much time actually goes into any type of 3D animations that happen.
Well, gaming's real time, so it does the rendering in real time. So more for movies.
Right,
It
movies.
should be appreciated.
Exactly.
Gaming is kind of crazy because they do what we render here, how it takes, so long to render. They do it instantly, which means you have to really maximize the compression of like the textures and everything. And there's a bunch of tips and tricks that they use to make it look realistic.
That's so cool.
Very impressive.
Very. So is there any questions while we're sitting here waiting for that to load up?
What happens, where do you find the file after it finishes rendering?
So what you have to do is it's still going to be housed in CLO, but you actually have to save it out.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
it's just recording right now.
Yeah.
Once it's been recorded, then you have to actually save the file out, and then it is good to go.
Okay, cool.
Should we go forward a little bit? We can go forward a little bit with the presentation.
Yeah.
Let's see. We'll go to. So.
Yes.
I need some help with the recording part. I got a little behind.
Mhm.
Yeah, no problem.
Here.
Oh, so go ahead and go to simulations and animation. Do you have your garment already pulled up too?
It's hard.
Oh, gotcha. So make sure you pull up your garment as well. Oh, it's the t-shirt, right?
So now,
So do you have an avatar up?
yeah.
It's just hiding.
So, did we go over how, when we animated that
Now we gotta get the garment.
the garment walks?
So
When we do the rendering, it automatically. Oh, okay, okay. So,
It does come on.
You can see I wrote down here, and when I was playing with two, I kind of highlighted one or the other, but like I highlighted transition, and that's when it fully walks away.
Yeah.
If you're having, but it should be.
I did notice that my shirt, when I went to play it and record it, like, it wasn't on the shirt anymore, it was skirt.
Yep.
So is there a way to verify when, like, make sure the key stays up here? Because for some reason she's not.
So I would make sure, if you're in, let me go back to simulation mode, and start to put sew it back together.
Yeah, okay.
So I would.
Okay.
Yeah, and you want to go ahead and
There we
sew
go.
it. So that, you either hit the arrow button, or
Okay.
you can hit the space bar. and then put it together.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you probably just the front and back are really
Now we
neat.
got that, now let's go over to.
And that's if you saw me working with the, when I was doing there's also these little points on the body that like those blue points. I don't have very good success with those.
Really?
No, maybe because I'm always doing something weird, like that spiral growth like that.
Oh, yeah,
So-
yeah. That I'm.
It's kind of hit and miss, so
Yeah. Oh, geez.
I think that one should be shown.
I'll try it out.
Yeah. So it's either the arrow.
Oh,
There.
yeah.
Okay, that.
Yeah.
So now you can go to simulation, or I'm sorry, simulation.
Materials, so going down.
And then you'll want to go get your avatar, or you, you don't have a post, you want to go to, and then you're going to get a motion. So you can pick one of those. So just double click on one of those.
Is that not this?
Actually, yeah, that is that. I just
Okay.
want to select all the patterns. So yeah, you're good. So then you can just try to play.
And then go ahead and select the window.
Wow.
Yeah. You're gonna walk right through.
Right.
She's like a go get
Yeah. But is there no way to have her walk with the garment before recording? You just let it.
So what you want to do if you you can just go ahead and, well, actually, if you click on, so down there, if you click on the pose instead of the motion instead of transition and then hit play, I believe it
Right,
would,
right, I remember.
I would put her back to the like put her back to that and then hit that. It does take a little bit of time because it's kind of recording also, but as you're going, as it's recording, if there's something you really don't like, because you can kind of see it, you can just stop it, pause it, and go fix that, and then that way you don't wait for the whole thing. If you can already see that it's not good, just stop it and.
Now we've got that. Let's go ahead and go back to the beginning, but in.
Also, when I restart the watching her walk, the animation, how would I get her to go back into the garment?
Okay.
So I think what we need to do is we have garment movement.
Yeah, I looked it, but I think this was like the original.
So in order
Or
to
she
do
just went back to that. So.
It's
I
gonna-
don't know.
Well, let's go back to the
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
What pose did you have? So she's in a
And like,
motion.
so for the steps.
That's why she's not in the
Like,
middle.
it's the avatar, get the arms on.
So if you go into library, you don't pose share
And,
them.
and then go.
I didn't know this.
So actually there and put pose instead. It should probably
So let's
was
use
the
that
top
one.
one. So just double click on that.
How would you know I get the animation part?
Perfect.
See, that's what happened to me.
Any
So
questions
you're just
online?
gonna have to,
No questions online? Seems to be going okay.
motion. Because I had to get rid of the motion.
Yeah.
It was doing a skirt t-shirt. So when I rendered it, it was for some reason the t-shirt was in the skirt area. She was topless, walking around with a t-shirt skirt. But it wouldn't let me go back into simulation, so I saved and restarted it.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
It's, if you try to add the garment in, like afterwards, for some reason,
Yeah.
it doesn't allow it.
No, but I had added the garment at the beginning, so it was really strange. Like somewhere between adding the animation and rendering, the t-shirt ended up in skirt
Oh.
on the
I
waist
remember what it
area.
was. I had the same thing.
Okay.
I had to do something to get rid of the motion. Let's go back to
There you go, hit simulate.
Oh.
I'm sorry, animation.
Okay.
There we go.
Now,
All right.
You need to see this.
Choose
Down here.
you have to go to animation.
Yeah, this is strange because, I don't know, I feel like I
Oh.
lost her once and then. Oh, this happens.
Did you?
And that's what I need to wait on. Only if there's closure.
Only. Oh, you're currently at 2D?
That's
Oh, we need a motion. We need a motion. So let's go ahead and go to F2, motion. No hands posed. Let's set that down to.
Let's go to avatar, or just back to the space with that.
So that was.
Let's get a different avatar.
Exactly.
Really different.
Exactly.
I mean, that's an iteration, or iteration is the.
And then motion.
Okay.
And there's, it's so technical. But then you go ahead and play it, and you
So
see.
now, actually,
There's your
go back to. Reset that.
And she lost her clothes.
She lost her clothes.
This is maybe a little taller, but if you
We didn't
select
get
all
there yet.
the places,
So now,
the 2D
so
window,
now that you're here, what you want to do
then you
is,
can just
this
use
little
that
bar will tell
straight
you
up
what
and
part of the motion you're at. So you want to set it back to the beginning.
and then
And
you
then
can
you're gonna hit
resimulate it.
forward,
Here we
and
go.
that will bring the
And then
drawing.
before you move into that space, let's go ahead and.
Oh. No, that's not gonna give you a
Sorry, I
good.
was thinking of, yeah, I just,
Go ahead
I
and do
need
that, you know,
to.
whichever one you want.
Let's
And
do it
now,
on.
see now the shirt's over there. See,
Oh, with her,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
okay.
now
I
when you
see.
do it, it should work.
Okay.
Yeah.
And to animate, so I'm sorry, but to walk it with the garment, you click on transition or
It's actually the one, you actually.
this one? And if it's just selected.
That one
That's what you're saying, they join up.
So if you add,
Well.
this is why you have the guard beforehand.
Okay, you went back to front.
It won't, it won't do
Oh,
anything.
yeah.
So it has
Oh,
to be
okay.
beforehand. So what we want to do actually, is you're gonna want to
For
restart.
me, I would just
Restart
around
club.
before I like rotated.
Because you want to,
Mhm.
Okay.
to get the garment on there,
You have to
And I feel
have
like
it
I
in there,
clicked on that
and
and
the
it walked
avatar.
fine.
you have the avatar, it on there, the motion applied,
I
and
just
simulated.
Okay.
Okay, great, great.
Should I restart?
See what happens.
I get impatient.
I'm gonna just
Let's see,
restart.
let's
It'll be easier.
Okay.
And when recording, is it with whatever window size and view it is, or is it has like a preset kind of
So we're
angle?
gonna talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
Save it.
Okay.
You can save it in different sizes, because yes, that's important what size you want it,
Mhm.
of where it's going, and also landscape or portrait. So
Oh,
you can
okay.
have portrait and, you know, your phone size,
Mhm.
so.
Okay.
There, yeah.
Nice.
And that one goes pretty fast because it's just the
Right,
shirt.
it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
All right, so we're ready to move on.
We
So,
need to reshare the screen.
oh, gotcha.
Yeah. All right, so let's share the screen. All right, so
All right, so
let's see this.
So as you know, we were working on getting the recording figured out here, and now that we've got all of our frames captured, as you can see, even lowering it down to that 20, it still took several minutes to do. If you were at the full 30 at full video quality, it's probably going to take at least double that time. So here's the moment you'll have been waiting for. You just have to go ahead and hit the play button. And now the garment and the avatar and the motion and the stage are all active, and you get to see what that looks like together. So we've got a really gorgeous drape going on there. It's looking fun.
Just a little bouncy. I got to work on that one.
So now that you have this recorded, it's like, okay, this is fantastic, but how do I pull it out of this program, right? Because every time you want to show someone one of your products, you don't want to be like, hold on, give me 20 minutes and I'll show you then. So in order to be able to do that and make this efficient so anyone can see it at any time and doesn't have to wait through that grueling process, you have to use video capture. So we are going to now cover what that means. So we're going to open up the, where'd it go?
Well, maybe I closed it. Let me just go back to Teams. It's
Oh, there we
up
go.
there. Yeah.
All right, so video capture. So whenever you hit the video capture, you'll see that all you have to do is go to File, Video Capture, and Animation. Now, in order to video capture, you have to be in animation mode. If you're in simulation mode, it's not going to understand what you're trying to do. So that's number one. And as you can see, it's highlighted on the screenshot. You just go to File, Video Capture, Animation. And once you've done that, an animation menu will show up, which is shown on the right-hand side of the slide. And you're going to, you can pretty much do your orientation however you'd like. When you think about orientation, it depends on how you're intending to present this. So for the purposes of this demonstration, we'll be doing landscape, but you can also change the orientation to be in portrait mode. You can actually have it to match like typical phone dimensions as well. Like, so if you wanted to pop this into TikTok and throw like a song behind it, you could do that as well.
Yeah.
So you've got some really cool things that this program can do to share your work. So we're going to go ahead and show that. But as you can see, for the preset, I'm going to set it to full screen. The orientation I'm going to set to landscape, and then I'm just going to hit the record button. And that's it. So we're going to go up to File. We're going to go to Video Capture and Animation. And as you can see, that new menu has just opened up on the bottom right-hand corner. And I'm going to set that preset to full screen. And as you can see, it just changed a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah, but put it on one of the others. I remember when I was doing it, like, so if you put it on like what are the, it changes like the proportions, like it'll change.
Exactly. It changes like the ratios and everything.
The ratio, that's what I was talking about.
So
you can preview how it like handles each ratio.
Exactly. And think about it. We present things in so many different ratios in society, whether it's like on a cell phone, whether it's on a TV, a computer screen, whatever it might be. So as you can see, we're going to set it to the
Oops. I'll let you put it back. I was playing.
We're going to set it to that full screen and the landscape. So whenever we are talking about doing these videos, especially for the digital fashion show that's coming up, this would be the preferred method so that we can fully utilize the screens that will be presented on. So then all you're going to do is hit the record button. And now you can see that it is recording the motion and it's going through all the work that we just did. Now you're probably noticing that it looks a little bit choppy, doesn't it? That's because of those 20 frames per second. 30 is video quality, so that's why it's looking a little bit off to you right now. Turn the leg, turn the other leg, and off we go.
Just like watching a fashion show.
Exactly.
With your own design.
So once it's ended the animation, I'm going to go ahead and hit stop. And now the turntable video capture has opened up. So I'm going to go back to the presentation. No, I'm not, because it's not going to let me. So what happens at this point is you'll now have the turntable that opens up. So we want to see what this looks like now that it's actually been recorded. So we're going to hit another play button, which is located right here. And now you get to see it in full motion, what it looks like. So in the first process, when it was recording, it was doing it at a much slower rate to capture all that movement. And now it's being shown in real time. So I was pretty happy with that. I thought that looked pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and save it. So whenever you're saving your file, you can name it whatever you'd like. For the purposes of anyone that is going to be submitting for the digital fashion show, there is a file naming convention that I created. So I'm going to do desktop, and I'm going to save it my last name, which is Fladden, even though it looks like it's spelled Fladung. And then we're going to put in CLO, show, and then look 1. Now, the reason why I'm putting the look 1 at the very end is because if you'd like to submit multiple, you would just go ahead and put look 2, look 3, look 4, look 99, whatever it might be. You can design to your heart's content with this. So then at that point, we're going to go ahead and hit save. And as you can see, I'm saving it out as an MP4. So make sure you save it as so. And then we're going to save that video out.
And we can watch it.
Exactly. Then we're going to watch it and see what it looks like. So that was a pretty quick save, much faster than the rendering portion that we did. Are we still viewing screen? Yeah. So now we're going to open it up from the desktop.
You just open it, it'll just open it in the...
We're going to hit full screen. And there you have it. You've saved the video, you've got your MP4, you've got your motion, you've got the avatar, you've got your garment, you've got the stage, everything. So this is really interesting because when you think about it, you know, to get to this stage in traditional work, this takes months and months of work. You know, you could do this over an afternoon, just, or even less than that. You could probably set up an entire garment from start to finish in several hours, which, if that sounds like a long time, then, well, try doing it from setting up a blocker, then doing prototyping, then making the final garment, then finding a model to wear it, then finding
the
a stage.
lighting,
Exactly.
video. Yeah.
So, you know, as you can see, this can really speed up your process. It can also show potential employers what you're capable of. It can also show just videos in general without much effort that really goes into it, because, or also not that much waste as well. How much fabric do we waste in our industry in prototyping? So pretty cool that we're able to do this. Any questions on that process? I know it was probably seemed like a lot. If you follow through the presentation steps, it will walk you through every single little thing and it'll be easy breezy.
Yeah, so you can follow along through that. So on to rendering.
So
that's a whole, so that's the next step. You can, so just a few things on that. It takes a lot longer. It's not something we could actually do in class time, unless we did a lot of, I don't know, sped up camera, something.
Oh, it won't let us do that.
What's that?
I tried, it won't let us.
Oh, it won't like, I feel like you'd have to record it with another like program. Like I use like Screencast-O-Matic or something and then like speed it up or something to do that. Because it does take a while. It's something you could do and just let it sort of start saving it overnight. Just let your computer save it, you know, set it up to go. So you'll select render. We'll look at this. It will open up a new window for you when you do that. And then you can change some of those properties that are in that space. So there's lighting, and things like that. So we'll take a look at that in just a moment. And then here are some key things, and we'll look at that when we're working. But like here's some key things that you would want to change. So, or make sure that they are set to in the property editor. So one of them is obviously animation, the image or video. Save the video on. You can, the frames per second, and this, you definitely want it to be 30. You want that high quality. This would be a high quality rendering. The orientation for what we're doing, it would be landscape. And then another key thing is for this, I wanted to point out a way to do this a little differently. Instead of putting a stage, and you'll notice the animation that I did of my my spiral dress that I had shown you before, I actually had nothing behind it. And the reason to do that would be is you could put nothing behind it. So it's not white. It looks like white, but it's actually nothing. And then you save it as a PNG so that it actually has a transparent background. That way, if you wanted to put it in another program and actually like have a different stage and animate it with, like you could have several of these and actually, you know, have them walking at the same time. They won't cross over and like they won't have like this, you know, box around it or a stage following it walking around in that space. So so that's something that's kind of that next step if you wanted to like look into that. But these are the settings you would want to save for that, so that you could have that sort of flexibility with your rendering. If you wanted to, you can just do the stage and have that whole setup like we've done, but there's some different options. So we'll just quickly go through this and look at, okay, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to look at those options so you can see where those are. So I'm going to go to render, and you'll get this. You actually have to click on this to start it. Takes it a moment. And if we play this, you'll see we're going to play the model in there. But you'll have this space, but you'll have you have these different options here. So if we click on this, then we get different editing options over here. Just close that up. So you can see the image, the video, image size. We can change this to landscape. The color, so to change this, it is on none, but and the stage is loaded. But to change this to none, you can actually slide this little, so this thing here, I could, you know, add some color, but I can slide it and put it all the way in that far corner, and that will make sure that this is none. And then I can get rid of the texture to make sure that's not there. The format PNG. And then we have, but there's the camera. You could change the angle here, which like we could make that a little bit of an angle, vertical angle. So that we could do some things with that. So there's a lot of different things you can do with this field of view. We could zoom way in. And this would be cool too if you're loading. Maybe you have a different kind of, maybe you could load a stage or load an environment that you could put into here. You could give that a try too. So there's a lot of options to play with. The image, we have that. The lighting. So here we have a lot of lighting options here to play with. So you could play with all of these options. And then, and that, I don't want to, if you wanted to put it on the close set. Do you have anything to add to that? I know the video format, where's that one? Don't want to save that yet.
I think it's, I mean, other than that, yeah, it's just setting the video and hitting play and recording.
Yep.
You know, if you're a little lost at this stage, that's totally okay. This is a lot more advanced than what we just did. So, you know, if this is a little too much, just know that it's there, and we're going to show you how to do it. But unfortunately, we can't show the final process because it's going to take probably about
long time.
2 hours, 1 to 2 hours minimum.
So, but you can see what you can, I wanted to make sure that you could see kind of what you can do with it, and the different options there, and that how you can take it that step forward. The other thing that I was playing with is even for a static, without actually animating, and I wasn't able to get this accurate. I found a tutorial where you could actually put in just a cool HDRI image, so that, and it would just be static, but even imagining the stage, then you have an image of your avatar in a certain setting. So maybe think more like catalog photo shoot, something like that, but have that background. And so this is another place where you can do some of that kind of thing. And then in just looking, I mean, if you Google, you'll see a lot of different options of people with specific, like, I got this lighting effect with these settings. So there's so much you can do with it. I mean, the first thing I would do is probably just start clicking on these, right? Just, you know, just like, oh, what does this do? The intensity, what happens if I change that? So that would be probably how I would do it. I like just playing with things. But you could also look up like specifics for this type of in-depth, really creating that environment. So yeah, we didn't quite do that. Did you want to go over this a little bit? I'll
so
let you
this
do
next,
that.
This next part is probably just going to be showing where the controls are.
Yes, if you want to
Um,
show where they are.
Because outside of that, it's probably not going to function very well. So you can hit the play button.
You need to scroll back.
Oh, we need to go back to
Oh,
the
yeah,
beginning.
there we go.
I do that all the time. It's kind of fun to have a different angle.
So you can see that it will play on this side, but nothing's playing over here. So what you have to do is hit on actually in the render window. And as you can see, now our arms peeked out.
1 of 1, 6%.
And look what's happening down here. It says rendering image 1 of 1, and that's now complete.
Just did an image though, it didn't do the video.
No, it didn't do the video.
You chose the video.
It did.
Did I? I think I did. Maybe I messed. Maybe I clicked
Is
it
there a
back to
setting somewhere where it just
Yeah,
is doing
the-
one frame?
that one.
Image, video.
Image, yeah,
Oh,
there.
there we go. So
I
image
think
was
I
set.
put it to the image instead of video.
So we're going to turn it back to animation. And once it's set to animation, we're going to let this one save out real quick. Now we're going to hit play over here. Now, as you can see, it has to render each and every single still. So it's going to say rendering the image, and it's 1 out of 427. And as you can see, we're only on 6% of that first one. So you can imagine this is going to take quite a bit of time just to get 14 seconds of video.
And it's basically taking every light like vertex and calculating the bounce from the light source to the material, calculating the material information and bouncing back and the shadows and all that stuff. The math is mind-blowing, and that's why it takes so long.
Exactly. And also this also depends on the machine that you're working on a bit.
Yeah.
You know, like
And Alienware is fantastic.
exactly
It has,
Alien.
you know, your RAM as well and your video card have a lot to do with it.
Exactly. There's a lot of things that go into actually being able to do this. So if your computer has like pretty low specs, this may actually could take up to like 10 hours just to do one of them. So just so that you're aware of that. So if you're looking at why is mine taking 12 hours? It might just be the build of your particular computer is why. So as you can see, we're now on frame 4.
Woohoo!
So
Getting somewhere.
once it's all done, it's going to pop up and have a save that shows up. So I know you probably all have nothing to do on a Friday afternoon and probably love to sit here and wait for this to load. But that's pretty much the process of how you're going to do that.
Yeah.
Any questions? Yes.
If my computer were to turn off because I wasn't added during this process, would it cancel it?
It would, yeah, because your hard drive shuts off.
As long as your computer is on. Now, if the screen just goes blank.
That's what I meant, if the screen.
Oh, if the screen goes blank, it should still keep processing,
Yeah.
as long as it's not an energy save mode where your hard drive shuts down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just gotta make sure you check your power settings and your energy settings.
Yeah, we'll check that out.
Yeah.
How would you, yeah, I don't.
Well, I'd make sure you're plugged into a wall.
I feel like that would probably be the best thing. So you can see that we have all the steps here for you to look into, to follow, and you can work on that rendering, and you can go through that process and save that for yourself. So
I'll try,
We're just pausing for some questions real quick, and then we're gonna start back up with the final couple
Yes.
slides.
I'm gonna open some of these up for us. So these links in the part, you should be able to access this PowerPoint, and then you'll be able to click on these. They are clickable links. These are both tutorials from the CLO YouTube library, which honestly is great if you're looking for something specific. That's kind of the best place to start if you can't find anywhere else, is through CLO, their YouTube, and also their online, their just the CLO website. There's a lot of answered questions and links to YouTube videos there as well. So these two, there is creating an environment using the HDRI files. I'm going to pause this. And one place you can actually get HDRI files is Polyhaven. So there are a number of HDRIs. There's different resources here, and they're free, so you can download those. So that would be a good place to start if you were trying to create an environment. So I found a beach earlier, so I was working on putting my model at the beach. I don't know if the dress we're working on really fits at the beach, but it seemed great. And then the other thing is, this is a pretty long tutorial, but it's animation and video creation tutorial from CLO. They also walk through, if you look here, this one, custom garment animation. And this is what, so far as I know, is this one for sure works. But you can sign up and you can get your own 3D character animations and put those into CLO. It's a little bit of a process, so it's more than we'd want to go into today, but I wanted you to know that was there if that's something you're interested in, because it sounds pretty cool. I haven't got to try it, but it seems like a pretty cool process. So yeah, so you can find those links in the resources. Do you have the PowerPoint? Do you have a link to that? I'll make sure you do. We'll make sure you have a link to that, so you could look at those. These are good, not too much, but like jumping off points. So then you can. I think that's the main thing with all of this is we learn these key features, and then we can just run with them. There's always people doing new things with them, so which is pretty cool to see what people will do with them. So so give it a try. Animate your motion, your garment, save it. And again, the same resources we've had before, and this video will be recorded and put up on the Textile Lab YouTube channel, so you can always go back to that. And we should take the hackathon out, except for it will be happening next year too. And then we have the digital fashion show. So, and then you can always connect on the Slack. And thank you.
So all those PowerPoints that you've been using are already on the YouTube channel of your
They should be in a link on the attendee files, but I will make sure. I know Margarita's been sort of manning that part, so would be the best person to ask, but you should have access to all of that. And I guess it would be good to have the link to it under, on the YouTube, like the YouTube, like in the description. So we'll see if we can put that there, just make it easy to find it. But
Yeah.
Or yeah, or a link to the one that goes with the video, something like that, you know. So, Colleen, do you have any questions? Have you tried doing anything with Chloe animation?
No, I don't have any questions. I'm just watching basically to see what it can do.
Awesome. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for doing it.
Sure. If you have any questions, even afterwards, you know, we're around, so
Okay.
you can find us.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's the key study.
I hope so. Rita?
Yeah.
Saving this, just stop recording,
Yes.
save transcript and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Stop recording. This should be in, so you can do all sorts of things.